Hello, it's me again, Aunt T. I'm so glad to be talking to you again and chatting with you. And I have my cup of tea. And you, I can, by all means, have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or maybe it's a sparkling drink. Whatever it is, have it. Enjoy it. If you were here coming to visit me, of course, I would have whatever it is you would like to have, because I would enjoy just having a chat with you. And I'd want to be as hospitable as I could be. And so, welcome, welcome. And I'm the queen today. Yes, that's me. I'm the queen. So, I want to talk to you about something that's very important. You might not think of it that important, but maybe you do. Have you felt something? Have you been feeling like an energy surge, change somehow? There's a lot of changes in the energy. And there's a lot of kind of this feeling of, you get that kind of scary feeling going on in your tummy. I get that sometimes. When it kind of, little something going on in the back of your neck where you're kind of, what's going on? Your spidey senses start to kind of like something we need to be aware of. So I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about fear. And there's an acronym for the word fear. And it has to stand for the letters FEAR, false evidence appearing real. Think about that. False evidence appearing real. And the best way for me to tell you or talk to you about this is, of course, with a story. I'm going to give you a real live story of fear. Yeah, heaven forbid, my life is pretty well full of fear. I've had a lot. But this one particular incident, it happened a long time ago. It was around the time before my first marriage. So I was only about 23. Can you imagine? 23. We're going back a long time ago, 70, no, be probably 81. Okay, so we're going back. And about that time, I had recently gotten engaged. And I recall at the time, I wasn't super, like, you know how most young women should be really excited and happy about being engaged. I wasn't that happy. It was kind of almost like, you really should do this, Tracy. You really should do this. Get married. Behave yourself. So anyway, that's beside the point. There's all these feelings inside. And I was not listening to my intuition saying, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. But anyway, I was out shopping. Anyone that knows me, you know I like clothes. Anyway, so I was out shopping, getting ready for going to a convention and buying some new dresses. It was summer. And I had recently bought a little Bobcat, Ford Bobcat, if anybody knows that make and model. It was really quite popular with the hatchback in the back, and I was quite proud of this little vehicle that I purchased. And actually, I bought it from my father because I took over the payments on it and took over the ownership of it from my dad because he didn't want it anymore. And so it became mine. I was quite thrilled because it was the first time I ever had a vehicle that was like nearly new. And I got into the vehicle from shopping, very excited because I had all these new outfits. And I get into the vehicle, and at the time, it wasn't a big deal about wearing a seatbelt. And at the time, I was really strongly urged, probably by my guides or angels at the time, to put on my seatbelt. Put on your seatbelt, Tracy. And so I did. I put on my seatbelt, and it was really hot. It's a hot day, so I had air conditioning. Oh. So I turned on the air conditioning. So the window was rolled up, and I put on the air conditioning, and I was driving along. And this was I was living in Sydney. This is Sydney, British Columbia in Canada. I was living in Sydney at the time, and there was a little intersection just in the small town area, the downtown area. And I used to kind of gas it a little bit going through that intersection because the light would change very quickly. And it was one of those lights that I don't know if they never got the timing right on it or what. So anyway, I was approaching the light and I could see it green. And I was thinking, oh, great, you know, beautiful day. Let's get through this. And something else said to me, step on it, Tracy, step on it. And I went, oh, okay. No problem for me. And then away I went. And just as I was getting right in the middle of the intersection, I'm looking over like this in slow motion. And there is coming right at me this classic, I don't know what it was, classic, could have been like at the time, if you know ZZ Top, it was kind of one of those, what's the word I'm looking for? It was all painted up and everything, just like a ZZ Top car, with the Hot Wheels and the headers and it was noisy, and it was flying right at me. And so you got to imagine this. And I seriously, I was like, just looking like this, and I'm like, they're going to hit me, and yeah, and it happened, and thank goodness I had my seatbelt on. So they came in and they were flying through this red light. They were joyriding, these two young guys, in this hot car. And obviously they thought they could go through the red light. They were not thinking of this young woman going through the green, speeding up. But thankfully somebody told me to go a little faster, because if I had slowed a little bit, I would have been killed. Because the velocity of them hitting me, it hit right behind my seat. And they totally crushed. The vehicle was totaled. But I spun around and spun around and spun around. And the front end of my vehicle hit their vehicle. And I'm like spinning around. And of course, my head is hitting the side here. The window, I crashed the window. Totally crashed the window. It was all just shattered. Very strong head. And it shattered that window. Just, and I was spun right around that intersection. Must have went around 2-3 times and hitting their vehicle. But it hardly did anything to their vehicle, because of course it was an older older vehicle, lots of heavy metal in there. Um, and hardly anything happened to them because of the angle of where they hit me. But it was all me spinning around, spinning around, spinning around. And of course, I finally just ended up like got the vehicle going like the wrong direction, spun right around. And I was just sitting there and I was pinned in the car. I was because the door was totally crushed on the side. I was just I was just a babbling mess. I I I remember just crying and sobbing and absolutely sobbing. And I kept saying, and because I was wearing glasses at the time, and I was quite myopic back then. Anyway, so I had these glasses, and I kept saying, "Where? I've lost my glasses. I've lost my glasses." And then the other thing that kept coming to me is I kept saying repetitively, I know it was green. I know it was green. It was green. I know it was green. And as I was saying all that, and as I was crying my eyes out, and as I was going through the whole feelings of that, I found out later this is exactly the symptoms of shock. I was very much in shock. My adrenaline obviously gave me quite a boost at that point in time. And I was just a babbling mess. And the two young guys that hit me came up to the vehicle. I guess they kind of went, well, we better make sure she's okay. And they were like, are you okay, lady? And I'm like, I know it was green. I know it was green. And the young guy goes, oh no, it was red. It was red. You screwed up, lady. And I freaked. I just bawled and just went, oh my God. And just at that split moment, thankfully, another man came to the window, and he right away started checking my pulse and checking my wrist. He was, he says, ma'am, I'm visiting from the U.S. And we saw the whole thing. Don't you listen to those two guys. We saw everything. You were in the right. We saw you. We're putting a report in. Don't you worry a thing. Now let me just check and see how you are. And he proceeded to calm me down and get me to, just come to reality, sort of got me to the present moment because I was totally almost believing the statement that I was guilty, that I was wrong. And thank goodness he came along and brought me back to reality, to here, now, present. And then, of course, after that, he stayed with me and he said, well, we'll look around, see if we can find your glasses. Because I kept going on about my glasses, my glasses, my glasses. And so I was just having a freak out about the glasses. So then the paramedics, the firemen come and the paramedics come. And of course, I couldn't get out the door. And they had to cut the seat belt. And then they said, can you crawl across? And so I crawled across to the other door because they couldn't open that door either. Everything was just all kind of really bent. Eh? So they pulled me through and everything, took me to the hospital. Now, think about that. I was really, really shook right up, really. Like it took me a long time to come out of that whole thing mentally, physically. It's odd, but I've been injured. This body of mine's been injured. So always on the left side. I don't know what that's about. Too many past lives, getting hurt on this side. I don't know. But anyway, it's always the left side that gets all the damage. Many years later, trying to get all the kinks out of that side. But I basically went out of that alive and didn't get, didn't really have too much damage from that. But yet my vehicle was totaled right off. Like it was, and I was quite thankful to get the money for the vehicle to replace it. But I should have just went and got another Bobcat, but I didn't. I instead drove my fiance's great big honking huge station wagon, which I hated. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But I wanted to talk about this today because it really, really illustrates what happens when you go into fear. And when you go into fear, it's something similar to, now this fear that I went through, of course, was very, very traumatic. And when people go through a trauma that is very traumatic like that, the mind will automatically pick up on, and it's very, very suggested, it will pick up on whatever statement is coming along, whatever is coming along. And if it sounds like it could be something to be of a protection, or something that, in this case, it was a direct lie, I believed it. I believed I was wrong in that moment. If that man, that lovely man from the US, wouldn't have been just visiting as a tourist at the time, I would have probably said I was wrong. And if there was no witnesses there, I probably would have admitted to something wrong. That's how fear works. And I wanted to highlight that because I have a feeling, and a lot of people are having this feeling, not just me, that there's a possibility that we could be coming into something very fearful, something that maybe the world has never seen before. And now I'm not prophesying anything, and I, heaven forbid, don't want to encourage somebody to go ahead and do something very scary to the world. But the reason I want to illustrate this so much is that it's so important that you do not allow yourself to buy in to what that moment of fear is bringing you to believe, because it will be a false belief, because it will be something that the mind will go, okay, let's try to make this right, let's try to make this safe, let's reason this out. And the mind will do that. And so what I'm trying to say is, what saved me in that moment was someone getting me to think about and be in the present. And he was able to get me to think about my pulse, my breathing, where I was. Oh, my glasses, I'm going to get them. Getting me to be present here now. What is around me that is safe here now, where I am? And he was consoling me and helping me in that moment to be present. And it took me out of the heightened feeling that I was in. That heightened feeling, and it's a very suggestible feeling. And for those of you that don't know, I'm a hypnotherapist, and I don't scare people that way when I do hypnosis. But a lot of a hypnotist's job is to find a way to induce a person into a hypnotic trance state. And the way that you do that is you do a little bit of confusion, just a temporary confusion of the mind. Temporary confusion to get them to go to somewhere quickly that is safe. And usually words are mentioned like sleep and sleep now, or something to do with sleep, because sleep is very, very much recognized by the subconscious mind. It's easily recognized as something safe. It knows it. It will go there very quickly, easily, and that's what you're wanting to do as a hypnotist. But what could be a not so nice thing that could be happening is that there may be some out there that are wanting to create a fearful event that will cause people to go into that that moment of false evidence appearing real, so that they can then give voice of assurance to alleviate people's fear that may be totally false information. And everyone will believe it because they want to feel safe. And if that moment should happen, and there are some of us in the population, the general population, that are more susceptible to this than others. Some people are more suggestible than other people. 25% of the population is highly suggestible. And the rest of us are different levels. But if you know that your partner or your friend or your family member or your son or daughter or whoever you're with is of that type of mind, that they are maybe very imaginative, creative kind of person, you will know them to be that way, that they're very positive anyway. Just protect them from that moment if you are not that way, and get them to come to what's present. Get them to say, is this real or is this an illusion? And getting them to get out of that imaginary space that is very, very scary, frightening. And the reason I'm saying this is that if we can all collectively work together to keep ourselves awake and aware of what reality is, what is real, what is imagined. Don't buy in right away. Be careful. Listen. And if you do that, then there won't be as much of people going and doing things that they later regret because they did it out of fear, or they did it because they thought this was the best thing to do, this was the safest thing to do, for their families, for whatever, or this is what the authorities are telling us, or this is what the media is telling us. And we've learned already, haven't we, that not everything we see and hear now is real. We have to be discerning. We have to be careful as things are changing. And they may change. This may change very rapidly, or it may change maybe in the next 20 years. I just know that I feel it. I think a lot of us feel it. Do you feel it? Feel that energy changing? So just remember that. Remember my experience. And I got through it. I'm here. I made it. Yet another traumatic event. Woohoo! My life is a series of tower moments. Don't worry, I can take it. Sometime I'm going to tell you why. But anyway, this is what I really wanted to let you know, all my nieces and nephews out there and friends and frenemies, whoever you are. Maybe I can make you a friend and not an enemy. I know I'm blunt and honest. Sometimes someone has to be. So that's what I wanted to chat about today. And I still got married. And I think back now, I was supposed to go through that whole accident. And I wasn't supposed to get married. I think my guides and angels were honestly trying to knock some sense into me. But I still went and got married. Didn't listen. I'm listening now. Took a lot of times getting my head knocked in before I started to listen, but here I am. I'm listening now. Boy, am I listening. So I'm just passing this on. Remember to ask yourself, is it real or is it my imagination? It's a good question. And enjoy every day. Enjoy every moment of every day, because this big wide world really is beautiful if you go out and look at it. And Mother Earth is always providing so much beauty. To that. Oh, hi there. Or I should say bye. You caught me. Yeah, I'm drinking coffee. Yeah. I also drink coffee. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it turns out I like coffee as much as I like tea. But anyway, it's the end of the video. And I wonder if you could do me a favor. All you have to do is click like. And maybe if you really like what I'm saying and you want to share it, maybe click subscribe. And then that way it helps me pay for the young lad that's helping me edit these, because I don't know how to edit very well. Like, you probably noticed that. And I need a little bit of help. And that fellow is a very nice young man. Andrew is his name, and his business is Permanent Records. And I'd like to give him a little plug to help him out. And so if you help me, I help Andrew. And that's how it goes. We just help each other out. But the long and the short of it is, I'm only ever going to get there if you click like and subscribe, because that's the only way that YouTube will actually notice me. And then they will put me in an algorithm. Then that supposedly helps me to actually make some money. And then I pay Andrew. And everybody's happy. Anyway, thank you for listening. And are you my badass bestie? And you drink coffee too? Okay, talk to you later. Bye.